Alright guys, technically our lumber is dry as far as the drying part of this kiln process goes, with the compressor running, pulling the water out. And our next step here is to heat this kiln up to 150 degrees to kill all the bug larvae, any insects at all inside the wood that we don't want to be there later on, so it's going to kill everything in it and sterilize it. But one thing I need to do here before we heat it up to 150 degrees is we got the vents closed on the side, because you're going to close all the gaps on this kiln, because I've had the door cracked just a little to keep the temperature below 130. I've hovered around 120 for this entire week. We've had the kiln running for right at a week right now, so in 7 days we took this walnut that was 15% down to about 8 and 9%. That's the readings I'm getting on my Wagner pinless moisture meter. I'm getting between 8 and 9% on all the walnut timber in the kiln and the maple. But one last thing you want to do here after you close the vents is open up these doors wide open. That's going to help get that last bit of moisture out of the air, if any, when the door's opened up. And then we'll seal it back. Use our trailer camp locking system here to lock up the front. And this system is really well here. I've had a few questions about this locking system. And you just gotta buy a metal pipe at Lowe's or Home Depot or whatever, some iron pipe, and have somebody weld on the handle and the two fittings on the end. It's just like the back of a tractor trailer where you see them locked it in and seal them. This thing right here works the same way, and it really gets a good seal for your doors and keeps them real tight to the building. We're gonna seal it up, cut the compressor off, and heat this thing up to 150 degrees for 24 hours, and this first load is gonna be finished. Now, they sell this little kit on Amazon. You get the handle. You just have to have the handle welded onto the pipe, and all these latches here that come with it. And it's a pretty great deal, I think, on Amazon. I think it was like $19. My wife ordered it for me a few months ago, and I'll put a link down below to this system that I have on Amazon if you guys are interested in it. You can use these on outbuildings or anything you want to use them on. It works pretty good. Now, we're still getting just a little bit of water out of this kiln. In the past 48 hours, I've probably been getting about a teaspoon every 12 hours out of the bucket in the back. So the moisture is pretty much gone out of this wood. It's pulling out just a little from the core of the wood or the slabs, but it's really probably going to be as dry as it's going to get on this 8-quarter right here. And the humidity level and the level of the temperature in the kiln is to a point where the manual says it's pretty much dry. And I'll talk about that when we get around back and we go over the settings here on how we're going to crank this thing up to 150. Now, what I'm going to do right now is turn this thing up for sterilization. What that means is we're going to cut the compressor off. The compressor is the dehumidifier, if you look at it that way, that's running, that's sucking the water out of the air as the wood heats up. So the compressor comes off and it stays off through this whole process. So in general, way of looking at it is once your lumber is dry, the compressor is done and your sterilization starts. Because if you left your compressor on when the temperature got past 130 degrees, because they're going to 150, that automatic shut-off system would go into effect, and then you'd have to take off the cover of the kiln and to do the reset button on it. It's really a pain, even if the lumber's not even in there, to do that. So there's no reason at all to run the compressor once we hit our ideal moisture content, because it's not necessary to do when you're doing the sterilization. I think I explained that 3 different ways, kind of redundant. So we're going to shut that off. Alright, the compressor is off, no longer pulling moisture out of the air. So now our fans are still running. I'm going to leave all the fans running for this whole cycle, because as that room heats up, you want that hot air to still get circulated through the wood, because that's what's going to help heat the wood up to 150 degrees and kill all the insects. So right now we're sitting at 115 on the dry bulb. We need to get to 150. So in order to do that, we're going to do 2 things here. We're going to turn our heater back on, because the kiln has its own heating elements inside of it. Now, those heating elements are cut off once the compressor starts running, because the heater and the compressor can't run at the same time. There's just not enough power for this small unit here to run both of them. It's not that I didn't wire this thing up properly, it's just how it's built. It just runs one or the other. You don't get to run both. So we're going to turn the heater back on at this point, or the heating elements. And I'm going to turn on those auxiliary lights, those little cheap waterproof work lights that we put on the top shelf that were Home Depot, $15 I think. We're going to turn both of them on. And I apologize for the lighting. It's coming in and out back here, but as long as you guys can hear what I'm saying here, that's what's most important other than the lighting, I guess. So we're turning the lights back on to help get the heat up to 150 degrees faster. And once I reach 150 degrees, I'm going to turn those lamps off, because I'm pretty sure I can hold that temperature at 150 without these lamps running. I think it just really gets you up there faster, so we can really save money on your electric bill, and put it that way. Alright, our lights are on. Now there's three ways you can tell your wood's dry and ready for this process. One way is the moisture meter. And I got in there and I dug around my slabs and done some moisture readings. I'm getting around 9%. Some boards are at 8%, and with 2-inch lumber or 8/4, anything less than 10% is really a home run. You're good to go, because that stuff's hard to dry anyways. So anything less than 10%, you're fine, in my opinion. Here in Tennessee, that is. If we was in Arizona, you'd probably get down to 5 or 6 and be just fine. Another way is you can see your water output. Like I said earlier, we're only getting about a teaspoon of water every 24 hours out of this compressor here, so there's not much water left in there, if any. And the third thing is the readings on the kiln. This morning my dry bulb was at 120 and my wet bulb was at 88, so the humidity was 88% and the temperature was 120. Now the manual that comes with this wood-mizer kiln has a table in there for drying. When it comes to drying green wood, it's got all the specifics on how you set the moisture or set the settings every day, because you want to dry it slower if it's green. It also has the parameters in there for every species when it's going to be dry, and for walnut and maple it's pretty similar. And when you get walnut and maple in the kiln, and the difference between the dry bulb and the wet bulb is 30 degrees or more, that pretty much means it's dry, and that's as dry as it's going to get. So our difference this morning was 32 degrees. It was actually like that yesterday afternoon, and I just kept it running for one more night. So I'm pretty confident here that all the moisture is out of that wood that's going to come out. So we'll come back here in 24 hours and take out the first load and see how our slabs came out and what kind of defects, if any, came from drying it this way. Judging by what I see every time I've opened up the chamber and inspected the wood, I didn't see anything going on with it. I'll be surprised if anything at all has happened with the wood. We should be in really good shape when it comes out. But at the end of this video, I'm going to stay out here throughout the day and monitor it. I'll let you guys know how long it took me to get to 150 degrees. It is about 11 a.m. right now. So I think most sawyers told me about 12 hours is what they average to get to 150 degrees. I'm hoping for less time due to the fact that I insulated this thing to death. And on top of that, these extra lights that are going, the work lights, the heat coming off that should get it to 150 degrees. Alright, let's make this thing more interesting here. I'm not going to put that on this video, letting you guys know how long it got to get there. What I'm going to do is, in the comments below, give me your best guess, with the max amount of time being 12 hours. With the doors open, it got down to 111, and it's already back up to almost 120 that fast. So, with not going over 12 hours, give me your best guess in the comments below on how many hours you think that this will take to heat up. And whatever it comes out to, I'll round that up to the next number. And the people that get that right, if there's 20 people that guess 5 hours and they're right on, I'll kind of put their name in one of these little internet systems that kind of randomly picks a name out of it, and I'll send you guys something. I'm not sure what I'll send you, but it'll be pretty neat. I got plenty of stuff laying around the shop I could probably get rid of I don't need. And one other thing, one requirement is, y'all live in the States, if you want to try this little guessing game, we'll call it, here on the hours, because shipping outside of the United States right now is just horribly expensive. So if you live in the lower 48, put your best guess in the box below, and on the next video here, which will be building a kiln number 10, when the load comes out, I'll announce the winner. I'll go ahead and do the random pick and tell you how many hours it took and tell you who wins. So we'll see you guys tomorrow.